The nature of the peace is determined by the nature of the war. This military philosophy has helped leaders determine how we set our rules of engagement in armed conflict. But you're wondering, what does this have to do with conflict resolution? My answer, it has everything to do with conflict resolution. I'm Eric with Leadership Developed. This week, we're going to talk about the skills that you can create for yourself in having conflict resolution, but also allowing an environment for disagreements to happen. So back to the statement. The nature of the peace is determined by the nature of the war is an observation from the two Revolutionary Wars, the United States Revolutionary War and the French Revolutionary War. You see, George Washington determined that he needed an organized, disciplined militia to fight the Brits and able to, when they succeeded, to be taken seriously by other nations that we were an honorable country. And that was successful because upon our victory, we were able to create prosperity with the help of other nations to be able to be part of the global society. Now, the French, on the other hand, had a very ugly, very guerrilla-like war or Revolutionary War, in which there's the guillotine and all this ugliness and the dark times, right? But where did they get out of it? They got Napoleon. And Napoleon burnt his way through France and then burnt his way all the way through Europe. So how do you have empathy for a nation that just went through what France did under the leadership of Napoleon? Okay, so I've given you these two examples. What does this got to do with my team? My team doesn't have these two things. Your team has disagreements. Your team, your organization is going to have internal conflict. You, as a leader, are ultimately responsible for the environment in which your team, your organization is able to have disagreements. And trust me, they are going to disagree. Why? Because disagreements creates better solutions and has a lasting impact of how the future of the organization grows. You want to have some of these conflicts. Why? Because it takes away the standard quo of we've always done it this way. As a young leader, I used to be the guy who was afraid of having my team mad at each other, arguing, disagreeing with each other. It wasn't until squad leaders course when a mentor of mine taught me that it is important for my team to disagree and to be able to look for a better answer, to get away from the we've always done it this way. Yes, there's some practices that do work, but as the times are changing through technology, environment, and mindset, so must our actions, our tactics, our strategies. They have to change to be adaptable. Because as we're going to talk about in February's mindset, if you don't adapt, you're going to die. And so that's a big thing of what I learned about creating a culture where your people can disagree. You want them to disagree. You want them to be asking the questions, how can we do this better? As I continue my leadership studies in the academic world, I come across many different universities who had different ideas of how they propose conflict resolution. And these philosophies are they're vague. They don't give you practical, they sound great, but here, let me read you a list. Okay, this is from a community college in their leadership certification course. Conflict resolution. 1, don't ignore the conflict. Yes, I agree. You don't ignore the conflict. You kind of want to produce the conflict. If you're a growing leader and you know your organization is starting to get stale, you kind of want to put that question in the air and have your leadership team come together and be able to disagree about what they feel the point is. Create the conflict to create the questions. But as a leader, you are responsible for how they disagree. You set the stage. You are the referee. If they don't play nice during disagreements. They'll definitely not play nice when things are good. Why? Because then everyone starts going into their own agendas and start looking out for their own self-serving attitudes. You are responsible for the environment that they disagree in. If you have a civilized organization in which people are able to express their concerns in a secure environment, disagree with each other, and then be able to collaborate, you will have a successful disagreement resolution and prosperous future. If you allow it to get ugly, name calling, blaming, no accountability taken, no action taken, You have created an environment of ugliness in which in which your organization is going to degrade into falling apart. That is why the way that your people disagree determines the way that they are going to work going into the future. And that's why I go back to that statement. The nature of the peace is determined by the nature of the war. Clarify the issue. Okay, this one is kind of interesting to me because from my point of view, I'm all about problem framing. That is, having an impression of the mess. And we figured we have many things that we have to solve for. Bring the involved parties together. Okay, there's another step that I want to do before I bring these guys together, these people together. And there's a reason for that, and we'll talk about it later. Identify a solution. Well, yeah, you identify a solution and then you execute the solution. And then finally, continue to monitor and follow up. That's everything in leadership. Supervision. Supervising the process is ultimately the leader's responsibility. You inspect what you expect, is what we say. I'm going to give you how I approach a situation like this. So, ultimately, I probably stirred the pot, or we have a problem that needs to be solved. And I bring in my leadership team. My leadership team has been as big as 3 subordinate leaders to as many as 18 subordinate leaders. And the reason why is the size and the dynamics of what my organizations had to do was created these different positions where I needed people to make decisions and be able to do risk mitigation for me. Because I couldn't do it all and I couldn't be available 24/7, even though my phone would ring at 2 o'clock in the morning looking for a resolution. First thing is, we're determining what is the issue. We need to know what is working or not working in the status quo. Now, when I got 2 department heads, 2 of my subordinate leaders who are banging heads with each other, I'm going to bring them into my office one at a time. I'm going to listen to their point of view. And when I'm listening to their point of view, I'm listening for certain things. I'm looking for who are they blaming? Who do they feel should be accountable for this? Are their ideas or complaints in line with the organization's vision, mission statement, and core values? And then when I hear I'm going to listen to the other side. And I'm going to listen for the same things. Now, as a leader, you don't take sides. Even if somebody's telling you everything you want to hear, everything that you believe is true, you don't openly pick that side. Because the conflict resolution is being created not by you yet. You want to give them the chance to resolve it themselves. So what can you do? I bring them in both. And when I do that, I sit them down. They're not talking. They are hearing from me how this is going to go through. Most of the times, when I had them individually, I heard the blaming the other. I heard the misaligned ideas that don't reflect the values of this organization. They don't take accountability. I make it plain clear what I heard, what I identified. Then I let them know there are other people out there that want to have your position and will do a much better job because they're aligned with, they're not blaming the other, they're aligned and they're looking to have a resolution by working as a team. And if they can't do that, they're easily replaceable because I don't need that arguing, I don't need that venom, I don't need that poison in my organization deteriorating the structure of what I've been trying to create. If they've heard me make those statements, then I give them one more chance to go into another room and to collaborate, work it out, and come back with a solution. If I'm involved, then I'm determining whether I want to keep them or not. It's not that I'm shirking my responsibility. My job as a leader is to empower them to be leaders themselves. They are the experts in their divisions that I have given them, their responsibilities that I have given them. My experience is there to help guide them. My experience is also there to help mitigate the risks. And my experience is also to help them become the best, or build upon their potential to be the best leader that I need them to be, that the organization needs them to be, that their people needs them to be. When they come back and we identify what the different solutions are, Now, yes, as a leader, I am the decision maker. They have brought to me in a collaborative method, they have given me options. If you remember evaluation and judgment, if they did their job correctly and they're the people that I want in those positions, then yes, they evaluate the situation. They're presenting it to me. I'm making the decision through judgment. Now, if I need to evaluate the situation because I don't trust myself to be able to make a quick judgment on it, then do that. You should do that too. If you don't trust, and it's not a bad thing that you don't trust yourself, it's kind of a safety guard. But don't let it hamstring you. Let it be a check and balance to help you as a decision maker. You came up with a solution. It is your job now to supervise it, to make it go through. And how you do that is having them together bring you updates of where we were, where we are, and where are we going. Are we on timeline? Are we off timeline? Has there been a new decision point situation that's made us alter our course? Those things happen. That comes from the assumptions. As a leader, you want your people to be at their best. You want them to be able to present ideas, to disagree with each other, and collaborate in a situation to find a better answer. That is team building. That is growth. That is ultimately what you want your people to be, to take over when it's time for you to move on and they move into your place. If you can teach them these skills with conflict resolution, you're going to find yourself more successful than what you thought you could be. Conflict resolution is not being the know-it-all. Conflict resolution is about creating the environment. Everyone thinks that because this is such a big interview question that they have to have the answer, the ultimate answer of they know everything. And trust me, you're the leader. You don't know everything. As a leader, I didn't know everything about my department because I wasn't qualified. I was the pilot. I was the department head pilot of a maintenance department. I had 237 qualified differently people throughout that organization who were duty experts in their field, or they were the apprentices about to be the duty experts. But I wasn't. I depended on them and their intelligence to be able to come up with the best solutions. Conflicts always arisen. There were times when departments would be arguing amongst each other how to go about it. It was through leadership that allowed us to come together to find the best possible answer with the limited resources the Marine Corps has given us to be able to find a solution that benefited the organization to keep excelling at what we did, casualty evacuation and bringing people home. With these ideas, keep growing and learning about conflict resolution. There's no right answer, there's no wrong answer. There is situational dependent. But through situational dependent, experience from not yourself, but experience from others ahead that have gone through this before you will help you be able to determine what actions you need to have. Because it's not what you preach, it's what you tolerate. And if you tolerate two arguing subordinate leaders in your organization, they will create a division and a cancer that will take years for you to fix. So, by staying on top of those subordinate leaders in your leadership team and allowing them to disagree, but not to be ugly in the disagreement, will benefit you, your organization, and the future of the legacy of that organization. I'm Eric with Leadership Develop. Thank you for your time. We're going to talk to you guys next month, starting on the 1st. We're starting the whole month of February talking about the mindset of the leader. And I can't wait to tell you all about it every day from the 1st all the way to the 28th of February. We'll talk to you then.